Hello everyone and welcome back to The Forge, your place for gaming news, reviews, and more. Today we're talking about the long-awaited Update 6 for Satisfactory, one that brings a lot of new changes with the world, the upgrade systems, and even more. So before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates, and leave a like if you enjoy this video. But for now, let's get right into these patch notes because we got a lot to cover. So first up on the patch notes, it is confirmed that there are no overclocking changes coming in Update 6. I know some people commented in my last video that the overclocking changes were not confirmed yet, so I just wanted to clarify this before we get into the rest of the patches, that they will probably come later in the later stages of Update 6 Experimental. So the first big change is the Spire Coast. From what they have said, it is an island paradise that is the Spire Coast. A lot has changed in it. The oil node placements have changed a little bit from their old locations. As you can see in my world currently, I had oil and they've moved slightly over. I plan on fixing that in my live stream this weekend when I go to play it, but it's not too game breaking right now. Just make sure to get those changed over if you had placements there. Next up, the swamp received a full vegetation and atmosphere overhaul to better represent the icky vision they had for it. It's a much darker and damper place, and it's filled with enemies, so be careful when you go over there. Next up, we have sky, atmosphere, and weather. These were already turned on when I loaded into my save. Rain was working fine. They also adjusted some of the starting areas' weather effects, like specific lighting, fogs, and a better feel for all of those places. Now, the meat of this update is coming through the MAM and equipment progression. So first up is our hand equipment and ammunition slots. As you can see in the lower left-hand corner, you can see that it now has a little picture and it shows each slot currently in use, so there's no more getting confused on how your equipment is sorted in your equipment slots. And another thing you may notice is the body slots now have four different slots that you can attach equipment to. You have a head slot, a body slot, a back slot, and a leg slot. The only thing you'll have to switch your equipment between is now the jetpack, the hover pack, and the parachute, depending on where you're going in the map and what you're doing. Having the Blade Runners and the hover pack feels so much better for exploring. It's a much welcome change. Another part of this meaty update is the creatures. The most major visual change we have comes from these crab hatchers. They are now a completely redesigned look for their hatcher, and they've made the flying crabs themselves far less annoying. They don't go swinging and flinging themselves across the map when you hit them anymore. They're a lot more stable, so it feels good to fight them and it's far less frustrating to deal with. The spitters have also received a visual change as well as several distinct variants. There's a total of 3 that have adapted to their environments, as well as a minor variant of the new forest splitters to better camouflage themselves in the red forests. While they currently all share the same behavior, they plan to introduce some differences here in the future. But they've also been working on an AI system overhaul for all of the creatures. They've tried to recreate the feeling of existing wildlife with some tweaks here and there using this new system. They're not all the way completed yet, and with it being a full system overhaul where they're aware of some issues, like I know when I was playing earlier, there were some enemies just got flinged off the map when they died, but the combat AI feels better. There's a distinct difference between 5 and 6, so I welcome these changes. So now for some more map changes. The map is no longer unlocked through the MAM. You have it during Tier 1 after the onboarding process. On top of that, it got some significant upgrades with map markers that replace beacons. Stamps can also be used to highlight points of interest both on the map and in the overworld. Now takes up the entire screen to give a better overview. Radar towers are still here and unlocked in the MAM, but they come with additional functionality. If powered, they now immediately reveal a set radius on the map, highlighting all the resource nodes in said radius. And they give information on exploration rewards such as power slugs, drop pods, etc. All of this makes radar towers much more useful than they have been before. I usually didn't mess with them, but now I'll be putting out a lot more just so I don't have to keep on scrolling back between the Satisfactory map website and my game, so I know what nodes to use and what not to use. The to-do list has also received a major boost. The to-do list can now be accessed from any menu by clicking on the right hand of the screen. It also received some visual polish, is height adjustable, and can be customized with written notes, which makes it a more versatile tool than before. You can take personal notes only visible to yourself, as well as global notes that can be seen and edited by anyone in a multiplayer session. I'm excited for this because I am terrible at remembering what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment, and having little notes that tells me, hey, I need to have 10 stacks of this item to go complete this. It's much better than just having the old to-do list would just have the item highlighted, and I can now put in more information about where I want to put it, etc., etc. And on a last, more technical note, they have made some changes to the saving system, which basically means that Update 6 saves are no longer compatible with any update before this. So once you go to Update 6, that's it. Your world is just tied to Update 6. So be careful with those saves, and that's why they wanted you to back everything up first. So now to actually get into a lot of the new items and new MAM research. So first up, we have support for several ammunition types per weapon. This includes the rebar gun, the Nobelisk detonator, and for the rifle. The new rebars include a stun rebar, which stuns creatures for a short moment, a shatter rebar, which is highly effective at a shorter range, and it's like a close range shotgun, and even an explosive rebar for even more explosions while you're taking down these new and improved enemies. Next up, we have the new Nobelisks. The gas Nobelisk releases a cloud of toxic gas that deals damage over time. The cluster Nobelisk detonates into multiple explosions over a larger area. The pulse Nobelisk generates a powerful shockwave that pushes enemies a very far distance away. And the nuke Nobelisk, well, you'll just have to figure this one out for yourself.
Did somebody say boom?
The new rifle ammunitions consist of homing rifle ammunition, corrects the projectile trajectory to hit targets more easily. Basically, once you have this ammo in your gun, as long as you're aiming near the enemy, it'll lock on. And the turbo rifle ammo massively increases the fire rate of the rifle, shooting a massive amount of bullets at an accelerating pace. In addition, all weapon crosshairs have been updated. Some audio tweaks have been added. The rifle now sounds completely different, and equipment will now be colored to the default factory color selected in your customizer. But next up, we have the MAM changes, and these are pretty intensive. All MAM research is now required to complete within 3 seconds, excluding the hard drive scanning. This brings a sense of urgency to unlocking these new technologies, and your research visibility in the MAM has been expanded, causing research to be visible earlier in the research progression, so you don't need to see the item. Rather, you don't need to be on the item before the one you're trying to research before you see what it's actually unlocking. All beacons have been removed from building costs and upgrade requirements, but they are still being used for the alternative uranium fuel unit recipes, so make sure you have a couple of those before they get patched out. There's a couple new parts required for the MAM, which includes alien protein, which is a refined version of the parts you get from dropped enemies, the organic data capsule, which is produced from alien protein, and the smokeless powder, which is used for the higher tier ammunition, and it's produced by combining black powder and heavy oil residue. The Blade Runner research has now been moved from the Caterham to the Quartz research tree, and an additional hand slot +1 unlock is now in the Mycelia tree. For quality of life updates, these are huge. Players can now hold E to collect foliage. This is so great for hand strain, because picking all the foliage up by hand in the early game, it really turned me off from this game for a while, but I'm glad that this is now a change. The Awesome Shop unlocks with unlock prerequisites are now always visible. There is now feedback to MAM research and hub milestones that unlock the Awesome Shop requisites. MAM research trees now show when the tree is completely done, so you don't need to worry if there's still things left to unlock. There is now a sound effect for when you're collecting power slugs. Recipes in the codex can now be expanded to show the same information that is available in buildings. Player health now regenerates to full over time. It's not a fast regeneration, but I'm glad the option is still there if you're running really low on health and you just can't find any health items. But overall, I think this update is a very welcome one for Satisfactory, and I can't wait to play through it on my current save and fix up what I've built so far. So let me know in the comments what you think about this update, and I hope to see all of you guys on the Spire Coast. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.